What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and let's get into it. It's not an NFL koofy, so let's get started. This is the truth behind the 2016 Golden State Warriors versus the 1996 Chicago Bulls. Who was better? Who was the better team? Who would win if they played each other? We break it all down right here, right now, just for you. Who better than me to break it down to you? Somebody who lives in Chicago, remembers that 1996 season and had to endure that pitiful Chicago Bulls. I hate the Bulls. Let's get that out in the open right now. I hate the Chicago Bulls. I hate the theme song. I hate the jerseys. I hate the ownership. I hate everything about them. Now, with that being said, that year was the year of the expansion in the NBA, meaning that they were bringing in two new teams, the Grizzlies and the Raptors. And what that did was cripple a lot of the teams in the NBA. So the team was dealing with another expansion that just happened that year when another expansion just 6 years ago brought in the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. Those two teams came into play just 6 years prior. Now here it is again, they expanded to two more teams. And what happened is when they do an expansion, they go and they take players from other teams to try to make the numbers, make the rounds. So this weakened a lot of teams. And no team was really together that long that had all their units and pieces. Everybody was scattered everywhere. So the main units of the team or people that played together for many years, those teams were only like three or four teams. Utah Jazz that had really their main core. The Chicago Bulls was one. The Knicks were not. They were a mixture. They still had Patrick Ewing, but they were a mixture. Orlando Magic was young. And Seattle Supersonics, you could say, yeah, they was. And San Antonio. That's it. So you got Sean Kemp, who's really becoming a superstar in the league. Him and Gary Payton, and they still had their basis nucleus of what they were running. Everybody else, they were broken up. The Phoenix Suns weren't the same Phoenix Suns they used to be at that time. They were all broken into pieces. The Houston Rockets, well, at that time, Houston was kind of trying to, get themselves back together. They were basically broken up. The Dream wasn't the same no more. His prime was gone. Clyde's out. Barkley's just holding on. So the league was broken down into pieces. So in the offseason, the Chicago Bulls went and got something that they needed, a power forward. People forget how important Horace Grant was to the Chicago Bulls. Horace Grant is one of the reasons they won 50 games without Michael Jordan, because Scottie Pippen was able to still do what he do, and Horace was doing double doubles, was killing on the boards. BJ had a great first half. Tony Kukoc was clutch. He was coming in hitting clutch shots. So Scottie, towards the end of 95, was doing great because everybody had their roles to play. Pete Myers had to come in and maintain. That's it. Everybody knew their roles. So there wasn't like somebody playing out of order. So they could adjust without Michael Jordan being there. And it was easier for them because Horace was good on defense and he was good on scoring low in the low post, and he was good for rebounds. Now, what they didn't count on was when Horace left, because they didn't want to pay him, because that's what the Bulls do. They're a low-down scum organization. They didn't want to pay him, so he went to Orlando to get his money. The Bulls tried to sue Orlando for tampering with their player, too. That's another story. That was garbage. But Orlando ended up acquiring Horace Grant after Michael tried to come back at the end of that season in 95. You see, I went back to 94 when Horace was still there. 95, he was with Orlando, and they lost to the Rockets. So everyone thought the Houston Rockets was going to play the Bulls and all that stuff, and that was not going to be the case. When that happened, the transition took place where Horace Grant became the biggest superstar. It was Horace Grant, Anthony Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal. They finna kill the league. It's over. They ran the tables, they went to the finals, and they choked it. And the dream showed them Shaq still had a lot to learn. So when they came in the new season, everybody's looking at the Orlando Magic to be the NBA champions. Michael Jordan and them got embarrassed by Horace Grant and Orlando Magic in the second round of the playoffs because they had no answer for Penny Hardaway and they had no answer for Horace Grant. Corey Blunt could not guard Horace Grant to save his life. Horace hit every open jump shot that was there. And those are the shots he normally hit for the Bulls. So whenever they doubled, they kicked it to Horace, and Horace was making them pay. Pow, pow, pow. And y'all tried to guard him with Corey Blunt. Corey Blunt couldn't get rebounds. Couldn't do nothing with Horace. Horace killed them. So at the end of the season, when they eliminated the Bulls in Chicago, they lift Horace Grant up, and he was, yeah, to the Bulls organization and to the fans. And they booed. And Michael was ticked. Because Scotty, everybody turned against Michael. And was like, well, he wasn't the same. 23, 45 ain't like 23, And Michael had switched back to 23. But he heard what everybody was saying. So he put that camp on. And he came back in shape. Because he wasn't in basketball shape. He still didn't have it. So people didn't think Michael Jordan could be Michael Jordan again. In 1996, he showed you he could be Michael Jordan again. Now, I can't stand Michael Jordan. But I can't take away if somebody is great and they step their game up. Game is game. You got to recognize real. He was playing. Now, in 96, here comes Dennis Rodman. They went out and signed Dennis Rodman from San Antonio, who was getting a bad rep because in San Antonio, a team that really couldn't get over the edge, and they needed somebody like Dennis, who came in and helped them win 60 games. They were like, well, we don't really need Dennis. He's a disruption. It's like, disruption? He hasn't even done anything. So he didn't fit over there with the Goody Two-Shoes organization. So he went to the Bulls, who embraced him because he started the dye and the hair thing over there. He gave the Spurs a personality where David Robinson can go out and score 74 points in a game. You wouldn't have done that without Dennis Rodman. So Dennis came to the Bulls. He's going to do what? Play defense, guard the best player that's on the floor, and you can't stop him. Dennis is probably the best athlete to ever play in the NBA. He's a machine. The worm don't get tired. He could play the game endlessly. So now, that's the only piece you need. You got Ron Harper who's going to play D off the bench. Tony Kukoc don't have to worry about getting any rebounds now. You got Dennis Rodman he don't care about shooting. This is going to free everybody up because Rodman's going to defend the best players. He going to defend Sean Kemp. He's going to defend Shaq. He was defending Shaq and holding him down, shutting him down. He's the reason they won the championship in 96. He was the most valuable player in the NBA Finals. You asked George Karl, the coach of the Seattle Supersonics, who beat y'all in 1996? Was it Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or Dennis Rodman? Go watch the games. Dennis Rodman won the NBA championship for the Chicago Bulls by his defensive play, his rebounds. He shut down Seattle. Shut them down. Now, through that whole season, they were running amok. They won the first 5 games before they lost. But here's the difference. when you talk about that team and you talk about the Golden State of 2016. Of course, defense is different, and of course, personnel is different. We all know about that. But let's look at what was going on. At that time, the closest team to have the Bulls won 72 games. Orlando won 60. Another team won 50. Seattle Supersonics, who's now the Thunder, had 64 wins. San Antonio had 59 wins. I remember this like it's yesterday. You had 8 teams that had over 48 wins. 8 teams in the NBA at that time had over 48 wins. So some at 47. This season, you got about 10 NBA teams that got over 48 wins. Only one of those teams, the San Antonio Spurs, has a win over the Golden State Warriors. 8 of their losses have come to a team that has less than 48 victories. The lesser teams, the teams that couldn't get up for, those teams won. The Bulls lost the majority of their games to winning teams. They lost the majority of their games to winning teams. The Orlando Magic. The only time they lost to a team that wasn't having a winning season was the expansion Toronto Raptors. They lost to Damon Stoudemire because he killed them in Toronto. The biggest win of their franchise, where Isaiah Thomas was the general manager and part owner of the team. He making him the first minority player owner of a franchise. I just wanted to say that. Before Magic got it, Isaiah had that in Toronto. Just wanted to put that out there. Now, when Golden State play, defense per game, the Bulls' defense much better than Golden State's. As far as letting the opponents are scoring on them. But what Golden State does is score a lot more than the Chicago Bulls did. Chicago Bulls barely averaged, I think, like 97 points a game, where the Golden State Warriors, they average about 103, 104 points a game. They're over 100. So they can outscore you. They put up way more points than the 96 Bulls team. Now, if these teams were to play each other on a scale of a 1-to-1, telling you right now, if they were to play each other, if you take that 96 team and to put them in a game 1-on-1 with each other, how would that come? I'll let you know in a second. But like I set that up. But let's talk about in each other's division. Because, see, what people don't realize that Golden State did is they beat a lot of good teams. They didn't play a lot of bum teams. They played the teams that are really good in this league. They had a lot of success against those teams. Like the San Antonio Spurs, all these guys who have been playing together for quite a bit of time, but they're pretty good. They have a lot of talent, but they knew how to beat them. And of course, the rules are different. The rules are more favorable for the offense than it is for you to play defense. And that does play a factor. So if you took the Chicago Bulls, the 96 team, and put them in this league today with these rules in today's 2016 league, the Chicago Bulls will win another 70 games. I don't know if they hit 72, but they would win 70 games. Period. You got to think about it. It's the way they played basketball. They played big man basketball, which means that They had a big man in the post that you had to pay attention to him because he could score. If not, the big man knew how to pass. Luke Longley could pass. If they go to the Tony Kukoc, he can go inside or outside and slash. Scottie Pippen's a slasher. Dennis Rodman's going to defend you and get rebounds. So what are you going to do there? You're stuck. Michael is free to do whatever he wants. You can't hand check Michael Jordan. He can go to any spot on the floor he wants and gets the shots he wants. And you can't hand check him. You're in trouble. You can't guide him where you want him to go with the forearm like you used to. Now there's a zone. So it's a lot of different rules that's in the league now that wasn't allowed back then. So you're allowed, the lanes is more open. You can breeze through more easy. There's no blocking the lanes off no more. You know, back screens and back picks. You don't really see too much of that no more in the league. So the Bulls, I think, would win another at least 70 games. Easy. Now, if you took Golden State, this team, and put them in 1996 and had them play under those rules, the team they have now in place would not win 40 games. They wouldn't win 40 games because they will be easily controlled. Steph Curry would be controlled. He would barely score 13, 14 points a game in the NBA back then. No matter how great of a shooter he is, he would score 13, 14 points a game. Maybe he hit 20 some nights. You will never see him hit 40 back then. Wouldn't happen. They would have him doubled. They would have him pressured. They would have him in a box. He couldn't do anything. They could hand check him. They could be physical, knock him to the ground, and he's very fragile. 13 points a game if he makes it to a full season, which I doubt he does. Different world. They would have to make trades to fix their team to play in that environment, which means that they would have to get more bigs and play big man out to the little guys to free them up for open shots. They would have to run a whole entirely different system. But if we want to talk team for team, it's hard to do that as far as putting that team there and putting this team here, because the Bulls were big enough to dominate you and they could make you play a half-court game. You see, that's the thing. Teams that like to run, it's easier to pull them into a half-court game than it is for you to try to run with a team that runs. You could slow the game down and give them fits. But here's where Golden State has credit. In this league today, in 2016, when teams slowed the game down to pull them into half court, Golden State was able to beat them in a half court set because they know how to play a half court game. When it comes to a half court game, Draymond normally takes over and he runs the point, while Curry pretty much goes around and see what he can fill up in the lanes. And who's ever free, whether it's Clay, whether it's a long shot or a rebound or somebody missed, they break out and trim. Draymond runs the point because they can run the half court with him. He can see the court better. He's big. He's physical enough. And then he's a threat to shoot. So you got to pay attention to him at all times. So you can't just really double the guys. So it creates a problem for this league. That wouldn't have been a problem in 96. They'd have had an answer for him because there's a lot of more bigger guys, physical, who would have frustrated Draymond and got him mentally out of the game. See, that's like kind of not allowed in this league no more. People are not too friendly to that. But as far as the head-to-head competition, them playing each other, the Chicago Bulls will beat the Golden State Warriors every time they play. Every time. Not one time would Golden State beat the Chicago Bulls from 1996. And I hate the Bulls. They have no answer for what the Bulls system is. It's not the triangle. It's about possession basketball. The Bulls would take the clock ball, run the plays slowly, put you in a half-court set, lure you to sleep, shoot the ball with 3 to 4 seconds left on the clock, and hit. Because they're going to get a comfortable shot. They're going to watch you make turnovers and capitalize off your turnovers. Golden State tried to be cute too much. And with the wrong team, you cannot have that many turnovers as much as Golden State has and beat a team like the Chicago Bulls from 96. The Bulls know how to sit back. If you're a turnover-happy team, they will let you be that. They're going to let you make that extra wrong pass when they cut the lanes off. Dennis Rodman is very good for getting steals. Michael Jordan is good for getting steals or keeping the hands in the passing lanes, blocking and clogging the passing lanes. That even in today's basketball, they would still dominate. Michael Jordan getting the ball in the paint within 16, 15 feet is a nightmare for you. Because you can't really, by the time the next guy come over to help, it's already too late. Steph Curry is way too small. Ron Harper would have D'd him up. Dennis Rodman would have jumped on him and helped, and it would have frustrated him. They played in today's time in 2016 with 2016 rules. Curry would have had a decent game, and they still would have lost because they would have isolated everybody else. The Bulls would have took them mentally and physically out of the game from just staying with them. Even with today's leagues, they know how to play in this league. See, they know where the lanes are. That's used to be clogged. They're open now. So they know where the spots are going to be. Dennis can move without the ball. Tony Kukoc, how are you going to guard him? He could shoot threes and he could penetrate, put it on the floor, and he's a heck of a passer. So what are you going to do there? Then they got bigs. You going to guard Luke Longley with who? Luke Longley could shoot from 15 feet from out of the basket. Everybody played their positions. They knew where the comfortable shot was going to come from. They knew where Scotty was going to get the ball, where Scotty's comfortable at when he's slashing. They were very efficient, and they were very efficient on the offensive glass. They understand box out. Nobody in today's league knows what that even means. So with having the knowledge from 1996 and how the old rules were to come here to play in today's league, they would dominate. Like many teams from the old days, you put them in now, they would dominate. And a lot of teams from here, you put them back in 96, they would suffer. They would suffer greatly. They would have to make trades with other teams to get certain players that is used to playing in that style so they can be physical and change the style of how they play. They play according to the style that it is today. But the difference between Golden State is without communicating, they know where each other is going to be, and they can play half court or they can run. And you can't run with them. Now, if you lure them to a half court, it'll be better for you, but they know how to play that way too. That's the difference. That's why they get up for the bigger names, the teams that's winning. And they're doing good against those teams that's winning all these games. They can play them better than the teams that don't have a lot of wins. It's hard to get up to play them. So it's a mental process with them. So that's my analogy. Y'all tell me what you think of it. It's your boy Carcino. I hate the Bulls. Go Pistons all day. Detroit basketball, baby. I'm out.